Hello, welcome back to Real Opinions. It's James here, and today I'm going to be talking about Isle of Dogs, which is the latest film from Wes Anderson. It's his second stop-motion animation film after Fantastic Mr. Fox from 2009, and you kind of feel that Wes Anderson probably wouldn't have gone back to doing stop-motion unless he felt he had a really great story to tell, and I think that's definitely true of this film. It's a sort of dog-based caper film, and for me, it's one of Anderson's most fun and enjoyable movies, if not the most enjoyable movie that he's made so far. I saw the film in a cinema full of kids during the Easter holidays, but I think it's fair to say that, for me at least, I don't view this as really being a film for children, despite the PG rating. It has that kind of usual sense of melancholy, which, well, I don't think chimes with younger viewers, but maybe they can enjoy the sort of the incredible detail of the animation. So yeah, maybe I'm not an expert to say that, but yeah, I think that's a really great point to start on. The level of detail that's gone into every single frame in this film is honestly staggering. The Isle of Dogs itself is an abandoned island where the dogs from the fictional city of Megasaki have been banished after an epidemic of dog flu breaks out. Sort of in the film there are kind of two narratives at play. One is a young boy's desire to find his pet dog, which has been sent to the island, and the other is of the dogs themselves and their desire to flee the island and overcome dog flu. The settings of the film are divided between this island and Megasaki City. The islands are sort of placed in decay, abandoned by humans, and now serves really as nothing more than a rubbish dump. The amazingly beautifully detailed mise-en-scene really kind of brings the animated world to life. It feels real and for the island at least genuinely inhospitable, whereas the city appears to be a vast, densely populated metropolis, and kind of demonstrates the extensive research into Japanese culture and architecture which Anderson and the rest of his crew must have put in. There's a couple of scenes that I think really demonstrate the attention to detail in this film, and for me were some of the most staggering, spectacular things I've actually seen in cinema for some time. One is a scene in which sushi is prepared, and another is where a kidney is transplanted. It sounds completely inane, but honestly they're amazing scenes, and sort of words can't do them justice. They have to be seen to be believed. They're really amazing. One thing that might be a concern for some people is the fact that all of the human characters in the film speak Japanese without any subtitles, but Anderson actually deals with that in a really intelligent way. There are some speeches by the mayor of the city, and during these there's an interpreter who's voiced by Frances McDormand, and she sits in a booth as if she's translating the speech to a television audience, and Greta Gerwig voices Tracy Walker, who's a foreign exchange student, and again she kind of acts as another intermediary, translating the words of those human characters, allowing us to understand the Japanese language being used. It's kind of hard to explain the way that Anderson does that, but he's very successful in making it making the Japanese language sections of the film completely accessible to, the biggest idiot watching. The rest of the voice cast is fantastic. The animated nature of the film, I think, gives Anderson a chance to work with many of his kind of regular muses, as well as working with a host of new talents. The actors' doggy doubles are perfect. Gondo is a sort of rough around the edges gangster dog, and he's voiced by Harvey Keitel, which is just perfect. And Scarlett Johansson voices an immaculately groomed pooch. She's a show dog. It's just fantastic casting. There are also some very funny dog-based line, even for people like myself who wouldn't claim to be dog people. Bryan Cranston voices Chief, who's kind of the main dog in the film. He has this repeated line which he says, which is "I bite," which is a kind of funny inversion on the human phrase, like "I don't bite," obviously. But just the way it's delivered, very deadpan, it's very funny. And actually the way that Anderson maps human personality traits onto the dogs while ensuring that they retain their canine characteristics is done in a very clever way, which is neither as cute as a Disney film or as abrasive as Family Guy. I think it's very well balanced. There's melancholic mutts. For me, I felt that Fantastic Mr. Fox was a bit of a misstep for Anderson. I think that the character and the story was so well loved and so well known in its original literary form from Roald Dahl, whereas Isle of Dogs, Anderson's got a bit more creative freedom, and like I've said before, he kind of uses that to create a film that is a lot of fun, has a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, and a lot of the kind of amazing camera work that we've seen in the live action films like Moonrise Kingdom and Grand Budapest Hotel. I think it carries on in the vein of those films rather than some of Anderson's early work, but I don't think that's a criticism at all. I think there is enough in the film to please even the most hardcore of Anderson fans, even those that prefer the sort of lo-fi, low-tech early stuff like Bottle Rocket or Rushmore. As for the soundtrack, which is of course a distinctive part of Anderson's films, there's only one pop song used in the film, but the fact that the score is absolutely brilliant, I think more than makes up for that. I love the music that Anderson uses in his films, but I didn't find myself wishing for 60s pop over Alexandre Desplat's wonderful score. I think it's absolutely fine. Being released so soon after the awards season, you know that this film's going to probably end up being disregarded by the big awards next year. But I think that's fine. This is a fun film. It's like I said, I think it's Anderson's most fun film yet, and it doesn't really claim to be anything more, apart from the incredible technical work that's gone into actually creating this. If you love Wes Anderson, it's essential viewing. If you love dogs, it's essential viewing. Or if you even just have a passing interest in films and want to see stop-motion animation at its absolute peak, then I think this is a must. If it isn't Anderson's best film, then it is at least his most mainstream. And as I said, perhaps his most enjoyable.